Hey guys, I'm Kelly and my co-host here is Amber, and welcome to the Brown Gold's Guide podcast where we discuss everything we wish we knew growing up.
Hi everyone. If you missed our last episode about money and discussions around saving, investing and more, please go have a listen. There's some helpful tips and tools in there, and you can also check out some of our suggested resources from that episode on all our social media channels.
That really was a great discussion, made easier by the fact that we had wine to sip on at the time. Amber, are you drinking anything right now?
Well, the truth is no. I'm drinking water because I'm back in my previous predicament where, I've got no alcohol in the house, which is a bit sad because, we're supposed to be having wine as we discuss these matters. But I mean, it's okay. It's fine. It's just, it is what it is. Please tell me you're having something nice so I can at least have a bit of FOMO.
I mean, I'm having something and it should be nice, but I forgot to put it in the fridge early on. I'm having a glass of Mirandel Sauvignon Blanc. So literally like 7 minutes before we had to record this episode, I put it in the freezer. Let me tell you that it is not long enough for wine to
Can you put some ice in there or is that something?
I don't have ice in this house.
Oh, no.
We don't have ice. I keep forgetting to buy or restock the ice trays or whatever. So I'm drinking warm wine. A warm glass of Mirandel Sauvignon Blanc, which I'm sure on a normal day tastes really nice. But today, because it's warm, because the wine itself is warm, I'm not enjoying it.
It's nothing like a glass of warm wine on a hot January day. It's just.
I know. It's amazing. So I'm enjoying that while we record this episode and discuss whatever we are discussing today.
Yes. So on to today's topic. So today we're chatting about studying after school and the kind of pressure people feel and what the various options there are for you once you've graduated high school. Let's start with me. My personal experience was pretty smooth sailing once I actually decided what I was going to study. The start was a bit rocky though, because I first wanted to study law and become a lawyer. So I applied for an LLB and I was provisionally accepted. But then when it came time to submit your final matric results, you go to the university and you hand in like your whatever it's called. Someone at the university in the admin department mixed up my application and had me down for something called B-Bubble. Do you know what B-Bubble is?
B-Bubble? What the heck is B-Bubble?
It's a degree in library science, which I had no idea was even a thing at the time. I didn't know people studied for 3 or 4 years to have a degree in library science. Anyway, so they then told me, I know, like to this day, my best friend Amy laughs at me about it because of all the things they could have messed it up with, I can't. But anyway, it's probably meant to be because me studying for that long to be a lawyer and just, I don't think it's for me. But they said I could apply for BA and could likely get accepted, but I wasn't feeling the BA vibe. So luckily I had a family friend that I went to high school with. She suggested public relations to me early in the year. And I applied like as a backup, I didn't really think I'd need it, but it seemed like a cool thing to study. But now luckily it turns out I loved what I was studying and I ended up in the career I am today, which is, I guess, just lucky on my part. But you studied journalism though, right, Kelly? How did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
Well, first of all, wow, what a roller coaster for you, though. I think you would have made a really great lawyer, by the way. And also, I am now 2 years old when I heard about library science. Although I do want to investigate what it is because I am such a nerd and such a dork. I really want to actually find out what library science is. In any case, for me, I can't actually really remember like when exactly I wanted to study journalism. It was, I'm guessing, like halfway through high school because there were things I was interested in before that. So I'm guessing like halfway through high school, I always enjoyed like writing in English. And so it just felt like a good fit. And I really thought that I could be like this world-class journalist. I even did like photography as a subject at school. Well, I did art and we had to choose a subject in art and I did photography in grades like 10 to 12. And I thought I'd be like this photojournalist, in the Middle East or in the...
super cool.
Wherever,
war zone.
In like a war zone, in wherever the wars are happening right now. So I applied to do journalism at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, which was previously a Technikon. And it just, I enjoyed the studying part and it felt like a natural fit. And it actually gave me a really good foundation for where I find myself today, which is also in public relations. And that is like just my story. I know of a few journalists who never even like studied journalism or even like studied after school at all. everyone's like story is different and their paths are different. So here's a question for you though. Did you feel pressured into getting a tertiary qualification, and how much like did the outside world affect like what you wanted to study?
I don't think I felt pressured. It was something I always wanted to do. I was excited to like study something I actually liked because I hated high school. You can ask anybody I went to school. I hated it. I was a nuisance. I didn't want to be in class. I wouldn't shut up. I hated that I was there. The only times I ever got into trouble was because I just wouldn't shut up. I just hated that I was in a class learning about things that I knew I would never care about. But anyway, nothing was of interest to me there besides languages. So I couldn't wait to graduate and move on to something I wanted to do. And I think I was also lucky in that my mother never pressured me to go for like a traditional qualification, like to be a teacher or something in the medical field. Mm-hmm. And when the beep bubble thing happened, like she was cool with it. She kind of just let me do my own thing. Whatever I decided, she was on board, and that was very cool. But I did know in the back of my mind that I wasn't going to get a bursary or a scholarship for something like PR back in those days. Okay, it was like 8 years ago, but still. And we weren't rolling in money exactly, so I had to give it my all. But how was it for you?
It was pretty much the same for me. Eh? My parents never like forced like anything on my sister and I. We could choose our own path as long as we had a path. They emphasized the importance of a qualification after school, but they never like forced us on a path as far as I can remember. My sister might have a different story to me, but anyway. And I appreciate that because there's already enough pressure out there to get a qualification. So many people just think that the surefire way to be successful after school is to get a university degree. I remember feeling that way at school and thinking I wanted to go to UCT, like to get my journalism degree or whatever the journalism qualification is. But our guidance counselor was like really great. She was super strict, I just want to say, but she was really great at giving like direction. She basically asked who wants to be a doctor or a lawyer or a few other fields that I can't remember. And whoever did, like they put up their hands. And she said that for those who don't want to go into those like specific areas, there are colleges, there are technicons that are much better equipped to handle things like arts or journalism or business studies or engineering. And we shouldn't just go to university because of what we've been told, like by outside forces. So that for me was an important lesson, and one that I think everyone should know. Universities and now even colleges are not the only roads to success after school.
Exactly. And there are so many options to explore when it comes to finding out what you want to do, because not everybody, well, probably nobody knows exactly which career they want to get into at 17 or 18. I mean, you don't even know what the working world is like for the most part. And one thing I wish I'd done before studying is like taking a gap year to enter the workplace. Nothing, fancy, just like an entry-level position that would help me learn more about being an adult and like what kind of environment I'd find myself in after I choose to study. And for some people, taking a gap year to work may have you realize you don't want to study for like a traditional degree or diploma at all. Perhaps you like what you do so much, you end up doing courses to upskill yourself as you gain experience. And courses don't mean you have to sit in a lecture in the evenings after a full day, because I know 10, 15 years ago, that was the case. You had to go study after work. There are so many online courses that have opened up doors for so many people. It's accessible if you have access to the internet, and I don't think they're all that costly.
That's so true. And I'm here for short courses, especially for those like wanting to upskill themselves after school, but perhaps they don't have the means to go to university or college. There are so many short courses out there that like don't cost an arm and a leg. LinkedIn, for example, offers learning tools if you're a premium member. And just FYI, you can be a premium member for 30 days without paying anything.
Do it, guys. Do it.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm in my 30 days right now. And Google also has made a host of free courses available. And some of those are even courses that will prepare you for a job interview. And this isn't even counting the hordes of like the free tutorials on YouTube. There are just so many ways to upskill yourself, even without pursuing a tertiary qualification. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm not trying to say that there's no value in a qualification. Of course there is, and many companies insist on it, but it's not the be-all and end-all, and it's certainly not something that you need to stress too much about if it's not in your immediate plan. There are other ways to learn.
And I hear you, and I completely agree. And just on the LinkedIn thing, guys, just get the 30-day free trial and don't forget to cancel before those 30 days are up. But yeah, it's really nice to have those resources available. And I also think doing short courses once you've entered the workforce is super helpful, because even though working a full-time job is stressful, many job descriptions are changing by the day. And I guess we do have to grow along with it. Because I'll never forget to remember when social media first blew up in companies like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Suddenly everyone felt they had to have an online presence and PR people everywhere. We were scrambling to learn how to manage social media accounts. It was the most. And when I was doing my diploma, we didn't have any specific modules on social media. It was all traditional PR. I'm sure that's changed by now. But suddenly we were expected to know how to attract and keep new followers on an Instagram account. And actually, speaking of social media, it's a field where there are so many opportunities for young people to enter the workplace through.
That is so true. Have you ever read a social media job post lately, though? You need to be like a community manager, a social media expert. You have to be able to work under pressure. You have to be able to do design work, edit videos, and so much more.
Alice.
It is ridiculous. So, if you're stuck on what to study, doing a course or even a tutorial on any of the aforementioned fields of expertise could be highly beneficial. If you do a Google on the most in-demand jobs in South Africa right now, there's also a decent list to help you think more openly about your career path. And if you find that the one you want needs a tertiary qualification, but you don't have the funds, there are ways to secure financing. There are companies that always use engineers, for example, and often they make bursaries available to students who then will go on to work for those companies. There's also study loans like from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. That's a mouthful. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme, also known as NSFAS. And you can also go to your local bank. These obviously have to be paid back once you start working, though, but it really helps you on your way. And going through all of this now, I realized that I knew so little about these options when I was looking to study. Not only that, but university and college and technicons, and also the TVET colleges, which is like the vocational colleges for like if you want to be a hairdresser or you want to be a plumber or a fitter and a turner, all of those things. Like all of those kind of tertiary institutions really felt like the only path. But now that I'm older, I see like so many people have made a success of themselves even without any formal qualification.
Yeah, same here. Although I did have a very good idea of what kind of bursaries and financial aid options were available, but I wasn't always a candidate. Like, first of all, my marks were super average. Many bursaries at the time when I was looking were for jobs like engineering and accounting. But now, just by doing a quick Google search, I was able to find at least 5 different companies that offer bursaries for a wide range of studies. There was digital marketing, there was communications, web design, which definitely weren't popular back when I was looking for options in 2010, 2011. And like you said, there are many people who are successful without formal qualifications. An example is when I was in high school, I did my job shadow thingy, I think it was in grade 10 or 11, with one of my church youth leaders at the time. And I always thought she was such a badass. I'm not going to say her name for the sake of her privacy, but she was so cool. And at the time, she was a key account manager for Levi's, working at the head offices in town. And she took me around with her for a couple of days to show me what she did, on a day-to-day. She started as a retail assistant in a Levi's store, or a store that sold Levi's. I stand corrected, but it was for Levi's. And she worked her way up to management level at head office. So she worked her butt off every day and found out that she liked to be in the sales department, and she worked her way up accordingly, which I think is really awesome.
That is amazing. I honestly love that. And as an example, like my husband also doesn't have any formal training, but he's worked his way through media. He started a magazine. He actually started in design, and then he started a magazine, and he got involved with the local car scene. He became an editor of like a leading motoring title, and now he has his own production and content company that is doing really well. These are just...
That is cool.
That is cool. And these are just great stories that show that there are many roads to success. Also, success isn't about how much money you earn at the end of the day, but that's a topic for another time.
Yes, that deserves a whole episode on its own.
Yeah.
But I guess what you could take away from this is that there are so many options out there, no matter your circumstances. And if you're going the traditional route of a tertiary institution to get your qualification, that's perfectly fine. But figuring it out as you go along is good too. I think as long as you're growing along the way and keep finding out what's available to you from, Google courses to part-time classes, you should be okay.
For sure. And if you guys have any additional tips and resources about post-school studying, please do share it with us. We'd love to know more so that we can share more resources with everyone that listens. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. We're really enjoying putting these together for you.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And don't forget, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Brown Girls Guide Pod and on Twitter at BGG Pod. We will also be sharing links to the resources mentioned in this episode. And thanks once again, guys. We'll be releasing another one next week, so chat then. Bye.
Bye.